Hi, welcome. This is Nogueira, and I have with me here Claus von Riegen from the Technology Strategy Group. Klaus works on open source topics, and I just grabbed Klaus and wanted to somehow know from him how open source actually contributes to the technology strategy. Maybe Klaus could talk a little bit about that. So Klaus, why don't you just say a few words, what SAP is currently doing on open source and how that actually contributes to the technology strategy at SAP.
Mm-hmm. Sure, thank you. So open source has a quite significant impact on SAP's technology strategy. First of all, I mean, generally we do use a lot of open source technologies in our product portfolio, and we do work in different open source projects. SAP colleagues are active in different open source projects at Eclipse, at Apache and elsewhere. So there's quite some activity, not only within SAP but also within the broader open source community. More specifically, as far as technology strategy is concerned, we see a role of open source in all three major technology innovations. So, for example, in enterprise mobility, open source is quite important in order to reach all the different mobile platforms. Android, for example, is obviously available as open source, and we just need to be able to also support Android developers so that they can develop applications that then essentially consume SAP functionality.
So it's also about reaching out to the developers and their specific skills outside of the SAP world.
Yes, and the trick is in this regard to allow these developers to work in the context they are familiar with without requiring them to learn the SAP proprietary technologies or our internal approaches. It's really they continue to work in their environment. They connect them through technologies like Gateway to the SAP functionality, and that allows the open source world to interoperate with the SAP world, and both together create larger value than alone.
So, these efforts that SAP is currently investing in open source. So, what is the actual impact on the way we build the technology strategy here at SAP?
So one is really the mobility thing, and that's where we interoperate with open source technologies.
I see.
Similar is in memory technology, where we currently investigate to use the programming language R and the statistic algorithms it provides. And there's a rather broad open source community that develops new statistical algorithms around R, and we might want to use that and the activity from this community to combine it with our in-memory computing engine, so that we then can allow statistical programming in addition to what our memory computing engine already provides.
So it's really also about leveraging the knowledge of the crowd, right? Meaning that we don't know everything here at SAP ourselves best, so we want to really engage with people who do that with passion and have their broader knowledge than SAP has, right? So just to leverage what is out there in the non-SAP world.
Yes, exactly. I mean, in many regards, more innovation happens outside of SAP, and we are much better off if we are able to utilize this innovation in combination with SAP. So this developer community aspect is just one of the value drivers. So allowing these developer communities to work with the SAP technology in combination. The second value is to reach more users. So users ultimately define what technologies they are using, and they don't only use SAP technology. The more open source technologies and third-party technologies we can interoperate with, and their mobile, for example, is another area where this is important, then we allow our customers to protect their investments and still utilize these investments in combination with SAP. So the same integration is important there.
Okay, and so you addressed mobility, you addressed in memory. So what about cloud and virtualization? So does SAP also invest in open source there?
Of course, yeah. In terms of cloud computing, basically the whole platform game is there important again. The Linux operating system, for example, which SAP supports since 1999, is quite mature and well-adopted operating system. It's being deployed in many data centers, and it also plays an important role in cloud computing. You will see many cloud environments running on Linux, like for example our own Business by Design solution, which is hosted on Linux. And that, for example, also runs on Zen, the open source virtualization technology. So these mature and cost-effective open source technologies also play a key role in order to drive our cloud computing strategy, because it's not only cost-effective, but it's also mature. It allows our customers to use these technologies they are familiar with and they might have skill sets in. Because, for example, if they deploy private clouds, company internally, and they have these Linux or Zen skill sets, they can reuse them also in an SAP cloud environment.
So the open source strategy is also not just to work on open source for its own sake, but really to support these open source technologies that are well known in the industry and mostly used. Is that correct?
Of course. We always look at the value, and I just mentioned two of those values. Again, developer reach is one, user reach is a second. TCO is obviously a third value driver for us and our customers, because the better we can manage TCO with mature and well-adopted open source technologies, the better also for our customers. And maybe a fourth one is development productivity. So our own development teams, for example, they for quite some time now have used much more open source technologies in our product portfolio, just not because it's open source, but because it addresses the functional requirements, it's available and well adopted, and it meets our quality requirements, and then we can include it in our product portfolio, and then we can focus on value-added services. We don't need to develop commodity technology yet in an SAP proprietary approach, but we can use these mature technologies from the open source community. And that supports our own product strategy. Again, as long as we can support these requirements, as long as we, for example, make sure that the technology is secure, it meets our security requirements, as long as we can ensure to support it long term, because as soon as we ship it to our customers, we need to support these open source technologies also for a number of years. And then we can integrate it, and then we can use the combination of SAP technologies and open source technologies to meet our customer needs. Okay,
great. I think we covered now the three technology strategy areas and investment areas. So Klaus, thanks a lot. Just in case people want to deep dive into this, is there anything from you or other colleagues that is worth reading, worth finding somewhere in SCN?
Of course. There's actually a separate landing page on the SAP Community Network. Okay. You can use the quick link open source in one word. And there you will find a wealth of information about different technologies we are using and our customers are using. Okay. What the experience is. There's also a forum, and you will see a number of blogs from SAP and customers and partners where information is being shared. Okay, so I will add it to this blog. So Klaus, thanks a lot for sharing your insight. Thank you.